Hey there, Heather. Hello there. Chef Cutter Dunn. Welcome you to yet another World Cup qualifying nations tournament, Group C. We're going to be doing it in Roma. We're going to be doing some big matchups here. So here's the format. Using the YouTube guy, I can't remember his name, but he did one World Cup fact from every World Cup nation that qualified. So I wrote down all the World Cup nations that qualified and all that. I did have Russia and the Soviet Union split, but I thought that it was one and the same, and I didn't think the Soviets deserved the spot. So, I made a change and I made it Yugoslavia in 1990 because Yugoslavia was, there and all that. But yeah, 80 nations. I decided to do 4 tournaments of 20. The top 8 nations from each of them will qualify for a 32 nations tournament of champions, if you will. And then we'll go through it World Cup style, like the World Cup games and all that. So that's what happened. So we already did 2 groups. The countries that are in are the 82 Algerians, the 86 Argentines, the 06 Australians, the 2018 Belgians, the 1970 Brazilians, the 2022 Canadians, 2018 Croatians, 86 Danes, 54 Hungarians, 2018 Serbia, 1982 Northern Ireland, 2022 Morocco, 2022 Nihon, 1982 Italy, 1970 Israel, and 1990 Ireland. So we go to Group C, the 3 countries from 1966. You can obviously guess that I got to go with England and North Korea. England, the world champs that year. North Korea, um, I know they have qualified for one more World Cup after than 66. But the fact is that they did their job. They beat Italy in Middlesbrough, got to the knockout stages, faced Portugal, got a 3-0 lead, but blew that lead, and Italy got pelted with tomatoes. And England winning on home turf. So 3 teams from 1966, 3 teams from 1978. I would say Scotland, off the top of my head. Yep, Scotland, who were top 10 in the world at that time, and it looked good. They were in a group with the Dutch, the Iranians, and the Peruvians. Unfortunately, Peru beat Scotland, and then they ended up tying Iran, which actually screwed them in the end, even though they beat the Dutch, but the Dutch were playing their B side. Who else was somebody? Tunisia. Don't know much. I think they were the first. Yeah, they were the first African nation to win a game in the World Cup, and Peru will also get into Peru. 1978. Cubillas was a bit older, but he was wiser. And Peru got to the second stage knockouts against Argentina and Brazil in that group. They got beaten by Brazil badly, and Argentina crushed Peru 6-0 in the last match to get to the final instead of Brazil. But of course, Peru, it was all about the argy bargy. People said that Peru knew that Argentina needed to win by 4 against Peru to beat Brazil on goal difference. So what they did was, a lot of people said that Peru was pressured to lose by the Argentina junta in exchange for basically giving Peruvian leaders some money. 1994, I think America, right? USA? Nope. Bolivia, Brazil, Bolivia, Bulgaria, who got to the quarterfinals against Germany. And yeah, they beat Germany in the quarterfinals, which was huge. Saudi Arabia and Romania. Romania got to the final 4, which was actually amazing in itself. And Saudi Arabia, that was their best Saudi Arabian team. Of course, not the team that got blown out 8-0 by Germany in 2002, but the team that Said Ioannou scored that solo goal against Belgium. And then 2002, the teams from 2002 that we picked, Argentina? No. Would it be Brazil? But no. China, their only time in the World Cup was 2002. South Korea, getting to the semifinals, well, losing the third place game to Turkey, and I think Turkey's 2002, right? Has to be 2002 for Turkey. And Americana, Senegal. Well, yeah. So China doing their job. South Korea, getting to the final 4 by argy bargy against Italy and Spain. It's well documented. FIFA wanted South Korea to do well in the World Cup and Japan too, but Japan blew their chances. Turkey beat Korea for third place, 12 seconds into the game. And all that Hakan the fastest World Cup goal ever, and Turkey proved to a lot of people. USA 2002, when they upset Portugal, and I think they beat Germany. I can't remember, but the Americans got through somehow to the quarterfinals. And Senegal, who beat France 1-0. Of course, John Motson's famous call, Papa Bouba Diop is there. Bouba Diop is there. And after 24 minutes, Papa Bouba Diop has scored the first goal of the World Cup. No, after half an hour of play, Papa. I was like, Jeff, 2014. 2014. Am I missing one? Looks like I'm missing one. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay, I'm not. 1950. The 1950 team is Uruguay, the second of their two titles. Well, this was the one at the Maracana that they actually won in play and fucked over 2014, 2010, and fucked over Brazil. Brazil needed a tie to win the World Cup, but Uruguay won the game. And Schiaviano was only the third person, they said, to silence the Maracana Stadium after Frank Sinatra and the Pope. Well, anyway, the 4 teams for 2014, I say Holland. Yep. Colombia, 2014. Jaime Rodriguez's volley was one of the greatest goals of all time. Bosnia, the only time they've been in. Bosnia. Costa Rica, when they got to the quarterfinals, and Deutschland, the 2014 champions. I put the 2014 team because of their great final against Argentina and Leo Messi and all that. I could have went with 1990. I could have went with 74. In some senses, I should have, but that's basically not here or there. I put. Oh no, wait. Okay, no, I did that wrong. It was the 7014. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was like, well, Jeff, you botched it. Where's the other 14? Oh, Greece. That's right, Greece. Having a better World Cup this time around. Of course, when they were Euro champions, they didn't get to the World Cup. Anyway, so we got ourselves 20 nations. Here we go. Group C, preliminary draw. We have Bulgaria versus England. Ah, man, England has to, well, they have to go to preliminaries. 66, Portugal takes on 2014 Costa Rica. 2002 Turkey versus 1978 Peru. Okay, that's 50-50. And Bosnia will take on Tunisia. So yeah, we got a couple of easy games, and then it's anyone's match. I am not going to change anything. No, I'm not going to change anything. All right, so Bosnia versus Tunisia, first match. 1-1 tie. Tunisia does get a red card, which is good. England crushes Bulgaria. Hurst with 2, Hunt with 1. Costa Rica shocks Portugal 3-1. I'm shocked. I thought the 6-6 Portuguese would win. And Turkey beats Peru 1-0. Second leg, England looking good. 2 more goals to the good, and Bulgaria is OUT. Bad luck. Costa Rica 3-1, and Portugal does the same thing. And they force penalties and beat Costa Rica. Whoa. So they win 3-1. Well, Costa Rica was up 4-1 on aggregate. Then Eusebio scored twice and Jose Torres. Don't mess with Eusebio. What a comeback from Portugal. What a comeback. It was 4-4, and then they had to go to penalty shootouts. Brand scored, then Eusebio, Borges missed, Jose Torres scored, Tejeda, Colonna really saved, Da Silva, Graça scored to win the game. 6-6 squad. Peru beats Turkey 2-1, which is good, but the bad news is Turkey's away goal actually worked because they win on away goals rule. The old away goals rule. I like it. Turkey does it. If it wasn't for that, Peru probably would have moved on. And Tunisia beats Bosnia and sends those guys out of competition. On to the quarterfinals. Sorry, round 16. Sorry, Jeffrey. Greece takes on Senegal. Okay, fair. 2002 Americans take on 2002 Turkey. Okay. 50 Uruguay gets 66 Portugal. I think that's too much of a clash. I am going to use my 1 per and put Portugal against 2002 US and Turkey versus Uruguay. North Korea gets Scotland. Oh boy. Will be interesting. Colombia. Bahamas gets Tunisia. Fair. Bolivia gets Saudi Arabia. So one of those countries will make it. Romania gets China. And England gets South Korea. Oh boy. I wish I didn't use the one per South Korea. I would have put China against England and Romania against South Korea. Well, two us do South Korea. Let's see if they get out there by the way out of this mess. Blah blah blah. First leg, Greece and Senegal. See, Senegal win 3-2. Camara with a pair of goals and Papa Bouba Diop with a goal. I think he's no longer with us. I think he's dead. U.S. get their asses whipped by Portugal 4-0. Eusebio is fucking Eusebio. Uruguay crushes Turkey 3-0. North Korea scores 5 goals and beats Scotland on home turf 5-2. Gamble with a pair of goals, but Scotland losing to North Korea. Oh boy, oh boy. Colombia beats Tunisia only by 1. Wow. Bolivia beats Saudi Arabia, pair of goals by Sanchez. Romania crushes China, and England only wins by 1 over South Korea. Portugal up 4-0 on the Americans and 6-0. Eusebio is freaking Eusebio. As I said, they did the great escape against Costa Rica. They had to score 3 straight goals on the road and go to penalties, and they did it. They did it, boys. They did it, boys. Portugal. Uruguay wins 3-1, taking down the Turks. In 1950, Uruguay are going to the quarterfinals. North Korea loses only 3-1, but they thank goodness for Dong Pak's goal in the 66th minute, because Scotland would have won on away goals. That was 1 goal too short for Scotland. I thought for sure when they could beat North Korea, but 6-5 on aggregate. Well, that goal was huge by Pak. Oh shoot, I should not have done that. That was not supposed to be like that. Romania, China. Romania crushed China into fine powder and move on to the quarterfinals. Yeah, Tunisia, Colombia. That was not supposed to happen. That was supposed to be a live look in. But I think Colombia would have been Tunisia anyway. So Colombia. Did James score? Yes, he did. He scored 1. So Colombia is in. Bolivia up 2-0 on Saudi Arabia. We'll take a look at them and see if Saudi Arabia can win on home turf. End of the half. I think it would have been 2-0, Jeffrey. It would have been too close. Saudi Arabia did score a goal. Amin. Versailles only won. Couldn't score. But Erwin Sanchez scored a hat trick. He scored all 5 goals for Bolivia. Yep, they took down the Saudi Arabians. Good up Bolivia. So Bolivia is going to make it in. Luck of the draw. Told you, it's always luck of the draw. So we got 6. So now Senegal and Greece. Senegal up by 1 over Greece. Trying to win on home turf. Greece has to change colors because they both can't be white. End of the half. Senegal 2-0, and I think that's game set match. Oh, sorry. That was not supposed to be game set. Team turn. I don't think Greece will do it. Senegal with Papa Bouba Diop. That was supposed to be end of match. Excuse me. 4-0. Camara, own goal, Bouba Diop, and Yadai. If Greece got their asses handed to them. South Korea, England. England, they better win. Red versus white. At the end of the half, it is 1-0 England. Let's go to the final 10 minutes. I know we're going quickly. 10 minutes. England up 2-0. I think this game's over. Don't you, Mom? Yeah, I think so too. So England took down South Korea. Well, no Argentina this time. You didn't deserve it. England will move on. I kind of figured they would. But Korea, I would have given China a chance against England. To be a little evil, but like, give one shot. Of course, we'll have to figure out how they will receive it. If you're top 2 in each of the 4 qualifying groups, you're given one of your groups. You'll be A1 or to H1. 3-0 England wins. Peters, Hurst, and Hurst. Quarterfinals. Senegal will take on Colombia. In the quarters, I don't touch anything. So Senegal will face Colombia. Portugal will take on Bolivia. Uruguay takes on North Korea. Oh, England caught a break. They get Romania. Okay, so I think Senegal Colombia will be the closest. That's me. First quarterfinal match. Senegal Colombia. I told you, 0-0. I told you these two teams were close. Portugal crushes Bolivia in defiant pattern 4-0. Uruguay beats North Korea 4-1. They do give up a goal. And England survives 3-2 against Romania. Romania cut it down. Portugal crushes Bolivia by 7. Yeah, Bolivia doesn't deserve praise. Bolivia. Uruguay crushes North Korea in defiant powder 7-1. So North Korea, North Korea will get 7th on the list. They're not a really good country. Colombia, Senegal. Senegal wins 2-1. A shocker. A massive shock. Bouba Diop and Diop. So Senegal will be given at least a top 16 seed. And England wins 1-0 thanks to Roger Hunt's goal. So Romania. So I think because of how tough it is, so it'll be 94 Romanians will take 6th. Colombia, the 2014 squad, will take 4th. Final 4. Senegal takes on Uruguay. Portugal takes on England. Of course, Portugal and England have to face each other. Pissing me off. Senegal and Uruguay. I think I can kind of guess who will win. First time I thought, oh man, fuck. Senegal couldn't do it. England wins 2-0 in Portugal. Senegal's definitely not coming back. I think Senegal will take 4th. But at least Senegal gets a decent seed. When you think about it. Uruguay wins 4-0. Senegal, well, they got to the final 4. You can't blame these guys. They got their asses handed to them. But who cares? They took out Greece to get themselves to the final 8. They took out Colombia and Jaime Rodriguez. England will lose 4-2, and guess what? The away goals rule, and Portugal goes to the final. England gets fucked. They were up 2-1, and then Eusebio. Damn that Eusebio. Why did I say something nice about Eusebio? So England will be given at least, they won't be a top 8 seed. Fuck. Autoplay and Portugal. The 50-year Uruguayans thought they were going to win, but Portugal, Eusebio. Told you, Eusebio is Eusebio. So Portugal wins the group, and they will be the top thing. So Portugal takes down Uruguay. That's a big win for the Portuguese. The 66 squad took out England on away goals. They took out Costa Rica on penalty kicks. It could have easily been Costa Rica who would have pulled a rabbit out of their hat. But Portugal pulls 2 rabbits out of their hat and then beats Uruguay in the final. Watch out for them. They're going to be a powerful team. Or they just got lucky. Or just luck of the draw and all that. But yeah, so there'll be one more 18 group to go. Just one more. Anyhow, I'm in to do.